Insider Lord Belgrave has a few new topics to cover, including the hidden financial stack known as Ripple and another post-Liber crisis that is upending the global banking system. According to Lord Belgrave, he is an insider in banking. City, now based in New York, the London banker, been involved with Bitcoin and XRP since the beginning, and he has been sharing a lot of knowledge, which some of you find interesting. Now let's explore his most recent post. Let's get started. Ripple is still too often reduced to payments. That is a serious miscommunication. The XRP ledger and Ripple were purposefully designed to maintain control over the whole global financial and trading system. While the deeper procedures are not visible, the superficial layer is. On the surface, CBDC pilots with central banks, financial partnership announcements, and RippleNet corridors connect XRP's asset functions. The public cheers, criticizes, and challenges this. It's a theater. The Distributed Settlement Infrastructure (DSI), a consensus-driven low-latency architecture for atomic settlement across jurisdictions, is located under the surface. It resembles the XRP ledger and is, to put it simply, the foundation of the next-generation real-time growth settlement architecture. IVL, or institutional layer value, is built on top of it, transfers funds between several currency corridors. Both bilateral and multilateral contracts are automated by it. Compliance filters are embedded. It is an institutional reinterpretation of ODL and RippleNet. Consider this to be the stock market's own logic stack. Even the D, a digital identity anchoring, which is often referred to as DIA, not digital assets, DA for people who invest in digital assets, is included in the agreement wording. The IMF, World Economic Forum, and GIL-EF frameworks are mentioned in the definitions of identity linked cryptographically to biometric and genomic vectors. This is where identification, infrastructure, and financial coverages come in. Furthermore, genome-anchored wallets, bio-linked remittance flows, and cryptographic signatures are all provided by the biological key infrastructure BKI Genomic. Although the phrase is used in multi-party banking NDAs, it reads more like a DARPA than a Deutsche Bank contract. The EMO layer, ELMO layer, ISO 2022-based messaging, encrypted messaging and liquidity orchestration, real-time telemetry from liquidity providers, FX order books, automated sanction screening, and, in essence, the substitution of a cryptographically audible layer for stubEFT follow. Recall that the new ISO communication standard is being adopted globally. Yes, you can use XRP within RippleNet for immediate settlement, and it complies with ISO standards. Digital treasuries, carbon futures, CBDCs, development bonds, and sovereign token instruments, commonly referred to as STIs, were all interoperable with the XRP ledger technology and intended for use on ledgers that adhere to the same architecture. Recall that the first DX was the XRP ledger. As a result, you may exchange anything of value on the XRP ledger, including fiat money, cryptocurrency, tokenized treasuries, and carbon futures. The point is this: the visible functions of Ripple will continue to operate above the waterline. Although it is frequently praised and criticized in the crypto community, the real protocols, DSI, IVL, DA, BKI, ELMO, and STs, will function beneath it covertly and without fanfare through indirect channels. The outcome is the entire financial stack, not a substitute. Base rails, digital identification, DIA, BKI, IVL, institutional logic, and DSI, STS, ELMO, and sovereign instruments, messaging plus liquidity. Ripple and the XRP ledger are not participants, rather they form the framework of the whole financial system. Just so you know, if you're listening in the vehicle, I've included the entire banking system here. As I read this is exactly what's going through my mind. This is known as bearing the lead in traditional banking terminology. Everyone talks about remittances and lawsuits. In the meantime, definitions concealed in NDA annexes are laying the groundwork for worldwide financial control. For this reason, I left banking with the conviction that fireworks won't be used to proclaim the future. One morning, it will just show up as integrated reality, and by that time, XRP won't be a speculative token. The whole operating system will be included. Man, that is a bullish thread. It's entertaining to read that thread. Let's examine what he is discussing in relation to the LIBOR controversy. I will always remember. Summer of 2012. We're moving to this new system. The whole city was in a frenzy. For manipulating LIBOR, the benchmark that supports trillions of contracts, Barclays was recently penalized. A few of us were aware of the truth. This was not a problem with Barclays. The issue was one of cartels. To put everything in perspective, LIBOR was more than just an interest rate. It served as the plumbing for international finance. Swaps, derivatives, and mortgages were all priced off of it. Then, because the Gentlemen's Club of Banks had been submitting fictitious rates for years, it fell apart. That week, I attended a meeting at Canary Wharf. According to a top MD, people would panic if they realized how vulnerable the interbank system is. The atmosphere was gloomy. In addition to being antiquated, the previous tracks were fundamentally flawed. At that point, a name began to subtly circulate among the innovation community. Later, OpenCoin changed its name to Ripple Labs. I recall an internal email describing a study on consensus-based ledgers for real-time growth settlement. Even if it seemed fringe, stayed with me. Consider the timing. In 2012, while the LIBOR cartel was being brought to light, a new ledger was introduced. The coincidence isn't the case. The purpose of Ripple was not to rival Bitcoin. It was constructed as a counterbalance to the heart-talized interbank system that we had just witnessed collapse due to cartel activity. Apologies, I'm not used to using that word. The similarities were striking. In the dark Ripple's vision, LIBOR rigged a limited set of manipulating benchmarks to create an unchangeable transparent ledger that allowed for real-time audits of rates and liquidity. As soon as the illness was made public, the remedy emerged. This is what few people comprehend. One of the first companies to support Ripple and the XRP ledger was Barclays. Therefore, consider whether Barclays' involvement in LIBOR manipulation was deliberate or just careless. Did they take the fall in order to hasten the adoption of the replacement system and force LIBOR's death? They had already made an investment. He is therefore suggesting that Barclays bears a large portion of the blame for the manipulation of the LIBOR system. They may have been playing both sides here as they were among the first investors in XRP and Ripple. You would know that Barclays was not the only company that rigged LIBOR if you were in the rooms. However, Barclays ended up being the lamb sacrificed. Why? Due to its involvement in the subsequent system and its role as the fall guy during the global changeover. I've always thought XRP's tail was never random because of this. Its inception during the LIBOR incident served as a warning. From the beginning, Ripple was designed to be the impartial settlement layer that would put an end to cartel mistake. I've seen the corruption firsthand, but most ordinary investors still fail to notice it. I witnessed the collapse of a global benchmark and the silent emergence of Ripple by players who realized LIBOR's time was up, and it's no accident. Design is that, I will. It claims that I go into greater detail about what I witnessed within these rooms in 2012, including the participants, the timing, and the reasons why XRP was always intended to take the place of the previous standards. Naturally, I am also unable to release the actual scans of the minutes and cards. It's too dangerous. He believes he will be caught if he discloses any more of this information in public. It is always enjoyable. If the video is helpful to you, please like it, share it, and leave a comment below. I really appreciate you being here.